Welcome to the Nerd Party.
I'm Darren Moser.
I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Prue.
And this is City Alpha 3.
Welcome to City Alpha 3, the Nerd Party's dedicated podcast to all things Star Trek. I'm Philip Gilfus, joined by my two co-hosts, as always, Daniel Prue and Darren Moser. Gentlemen, how are you doing?
We've been stranded here on City Alpha 3 for, it feels like 1,000 years, but maybe, 1,000 years is but a day. But
that's topical.
Wow, I think he's saying Daniel's boring.
Ooh. Hey, it's not my episode.
I get
this
dibs
week.
on becoming the disembodied AI. Okay. That's...
Well, you're always our Hal.
Oh, wait
a minute.
Who the voice, which I think I just read today, the voice actor died.
Yeah, he did die today. The actor who played the voice of Hal.
Yeah, so
he's afraid he can't do that anymore. That's what all the articles have been saying.
Oh man! Wow.
Jeez.
It's a little on the nose.
He goes to those big open pod doors in the sky.
Oh, jeez. He's just laying in the bed at like the end scene where Dave Bowman's shifting forward in time in random
and it just
shots.
goes crazy, go nuts, and no one really understands the movie.
Beyond the Infinite,
yeah. So you guys, Daniel, been up to any Star Trek shenanigans in the past week?
After Into Darkness, I took a little bit of a break.
Or is it all Star Trek Redemption 2 that you've been playing?
I just watched Galaxy Quest 5 times to wash it out of my brain, so,
No, I have been deep into Red Dead still, but I did watch Calypso, so it's some new Star Trek.
Okay, yeah. We'll be talking short treks here. Well, what about you, Darren? Have you been more dedicated?
No, it's just been... Actually, I've been more working on droids, and actually I've been watching... It is science fiction. I finished watching all of Space Battleship Yamato 2199 for the first time ever. And This is not so it's like the 80s, 70s anime, but it was actually like remade slightly more recently. So the animation style is much more modern. And I really enjoyed it. It was a really good story. So that was fun.
Yeah, and I'm afraid it's been a busy week for me doing Jerry Part 2. And also getting my letters of recommendation together for school apps. But anyway, I did start, like literally just the first episode, The Expanse, because I've heard people talk about it.
Yeah,
I've
seen
Amazon
the first
Prime.
2 episodes of The Expanse.
Yeah, the first episode was, for a pilot, it doesn't really do a job. Like, it's like, here's a bunch of stuff, credits. And I'm like, well, that's okay. Did it really... Okay.
I mean, it's meant to be streamed, and kind of binged a little bit.
Yeah, I can tell. So, it seemed like intriguing concepts, all this Mars, Earth, belt politics and all that stuff. So, but anyway, then...
I do like how they deal with, if you've basically been living in space or on Mars, like, you cannot survive on Earth. Like, your body just can't
the gravitational differences, yeah.
Yeah, which is cool. It's very hard science, which is nice once in a while.
Well, I like easy science.
Apparently Star Trek's forgotten that. But, it was never hard.
I know.
Hard science.
We talked about antimatter on Doctor Who last week, so and we got some more science today. So anyway, but yeah. So I thought before we get into our main topic, we talk about the latest short treks. Short trek number 2, Calypso, that came out. And to help us understand this a little bit more, I've brought one of the network co-hosts here, a special guest, and that is the person that lives with me, Jessica Nunn.
How'd you ever get on her schedule, Philip?
With an intro like that, who could turn that down?
Yeah.
It's Veterans Day. You still have to do what I say.
Oh, right. No, sorry. You have a few more hours.
That's right.
Well, tomorrow's observed Veterans Day, so you really could stretch that out.
I know. So she's like, I see you, and I'm like, it's a funny joke, honey, every time.
I know you from somewhere.
Put the binoculars down. Okay, so let's just start with general thoughts. Daniel, what'd you think of Calypso? I feel like I should have like some sort of musical, like.
When I hear the word Calypso, I think of like a tropical theme. I don't know why.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
Like Tito Puente or something.
Was that like the scene where Picard has played the music and he does the
Insurrection?
Spin? Yeah, Insurrection. He's played the Calypso.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I think of. I really liked it. I thought it was a big improvement on what Tilly's episode
Tilly's
was.
Day Out,
Yeah.
whatever.
Pretty sure that's not what it was called, but anyway.
See, Tilly's episode felt like the B plot of a bigger story shoved into 15 minutes.
It's exactly what it was.
This felt like an actual interesting mini story. This felt like a better use of a short trek. This felt more like what you'd want to use this sort of thing for. Something that you couldn't tell in a normal story episode.
Exactly.
But you could do it in this format. And that's what I really appreciated about it. And then, the emotional bits, we'll get into it, I'm sure. Some hit, some missed. But it wasn't perfect by any means. But I thought the characters and the story was interesting. If a bit vague, especially in the beginning, kind of had no idea what was going on. I think if they set it up better, like exactly where you were and what was, I don't know.
You're on
I
the
guess
Discovery.
Yeah, you're on the Discovery. That's all you know.
You're on the pre-built sets. We don't have to change.
That's
It's
right.
1,000 years in the future. Well, 1,000 years from some unknown time,
Which
but
is-
presumably
but I
in the
mean,
lifetime
how
of
long
Discovery
could
crew.
the ship actually be in service? 100 years at most, so 1,000 years after our crew. Like, it's not at that time scale. It almost
They don't
doesn't
build them like
matter.
they used to, Darren.
There's still Excelsiors out there in service.
Oh, gosh.
It's
The workhorse of
yeah.
the fleet.
Well,
bird of
actually,
praise.
I also thought that was an interesting choice that they made right now, establishing that, of either something temporal happened to the Discovery or it does just sit there.
It becomes
And-
what's that ship? Like Mary Celeste or whatever.
Yeah, the ghost ship.
So I just thought it was interesting that we kind of now know the ultimate fate of the Discovery.
Do we?
Is that it's
Possibly.
fine. It's fine.
Possibly.
The Discovery's fine.
If they commit to it, I'm just saying it's not going to get. We're not going to get a Discovery A at any point.
No, they don't say that. It just Discovery's just there.
all right. But anyways, I did enjoy.
I mean, the Enterprise B. I don't know. I don't even know if it's canon or not. But I feel like the Enterprise B was listed as missing. I mean, technically, the
That's
Enterprise
true.
C was missing too, but
But we
Presumed
actually found
destroyed.
it. That's the only difference with the
Yeah.
B is we don't know what happened.
so. What'd you think, darling?
Yeah, I don't think I knew when we watched it that it was called Calypso, but it was so clearly Odyssey based.
No, I don't. I didn't. I'm not an Odyssey person. So can you explain just for
Yeah.
anyone who is as ignorant as me?
Yeah, absolutely. So Greek epic poem. Homer lived around 7 BC.
Oh God, she's doing the whole thing.
Yes, sorry. You can edit whatever you don't need for this. But the idea that Odysseus fought in the Trojan War, and when it was over, it took him 10 years to get home to his wife and child. And one of the situations, he has all sorts of interesting adventures with the Cyclops, for instance, and ultimately all of his men are killed, but he does end up on the island of Calypso. And Calypso is I think a goddess who is trying to keep him there to love her forever. And he ultimately wants to get back home, and so she tries all of her tricks and wiles, and he just wants to get back to his family. And so ultimately she lets him go home.
Mhm.
And that was what this
Oh,
was.
so they took that pretty much wholesale from
Yes.
that story. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So someone
I
walked
do-
into the
I-
writer's room and they're like, guys, have you read
Odyssey in
this
space,
Odyssey
huh?"
thing? Because
Yeah, except for the dance scene, which I don't think
There's
was
not a dance scene
I
in-
don't think it's actually in
Okay.
the epic poem.
Okay.
Yeah, but other than that,
So
yeah,
they didn't have public domain movies back then.
maybe that was the problem.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, copyright laws.
public domain scrolls. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, yeah.
Why don't any of these scrolls reference modern plays? Well, there's a problem. Well, I don't know. I was going to say I don't hate it, but maybe I do. But I don't know. I never feel that strong about something. But anyway, I was just so confused the whole way. Like, I kept being like, what did I... Like, Zora. Is that established that that's the name of the AI?
No, I mean, no, this...
Like,
I don't
everything was just
know.
like was thrown at us. And I'm like, what the hell? Like, it wasn't even clear to me how he left his ship. So, like, the Discovery beamed him by itself. Or no, a tractor beam. It did show the tractor beam.
Yeah.
But it just tractored
Yeah, I
itself.
think it was in an escape pod. or
Yeah,
something
but like it was just so the AI on the Enterprise, or excuse me, sorry, the Discovery on the Discovery has evolved. It's named itself Zora, but like there was no like, "Hi, I'm Zora." It was like he just started calling her Zora, and like.
Look, we don't got time for introductions, Philip. We got 15 minutes to fill.
It's a short trek,
Yeah.
not a make sense.
If you want to see
trek.
long treks, okay, that's a different show. I can't help you there.
It's
it
a
does
different
move
show, right?
very quickly, and I think for
Maybe
its
trying
benefit
to
and-
tell too big of a story for the time.
No,
limit.
I don't think so. I just think that maybe a couple of extra lines would have cleared it up. But
Like,
especially in
what's
the
your name? Oh, hi, it's Zora.
What's this ship?
Because they
What's
do. They have
Discovery? Yeah.
they have the introduction scene, but none of the relevant information is given to the viewer. So it is kind of like you're confused after that, and then it's just given to you a little bit by a little bit, and then probably by 75% of the way through the episode, you're like, okay, now I get it. I see where we're at, and I understand. But there's no real reason to like hide any of that information from the viewer.
I also
so
don't
it's-
understand why you had a hammock in the transporter room. Like, how many quarters are there in that ship that have beds?
I thought that was cool though. I was like, that's kind of cool.
But could you just not like figure out how doors worked 1,000 years later? Or, I don't
know. Maybe
They're
shut
even
off
easier
life
1,000
support.
years later. They just open.
No, I like they only had 2 sets available. It's like, well, we still have the mess hall from the first short track.
That's true. Maybe they were shooting real Star Trek in the dorm rooms, and so
All we got
they-
is the transporter room, and we'll
Yep.
let you be on the bridge for one scene.
That's why they had the mess hall for Tilly. You
Yeah.
know, so
Hey, we
and
do.
that's,
Find
I
out
mean,
that
we know that's literally what they did. They literally shot these around
The mess
actual
hall.
production.
Yeah.
We do find out that the Discovery is an ECH friendly ship because they have holographic projectors all over the bridge.
Well, 1,000 years from now, they do.
Yeah.
That's true. The AI can do a lot of things.
Apparently, yeah.
It did remind me that apparently, the NX-01 movie night tradition lives on here on Discovery
Yeah.
with public domain movies from the early 20th or mid 20th
I
century.
think everything would be public domain by now, but the copyright law
Yeah,
just keeps
why are they
getting
showing Top
stretched
Gun or
and
something?
stretched.
it's either public domain in the future or it's owned by Disney. So that's why we don't see a lot of things in Star Trek.
But anyway, but I was confused, and then because like, oh, here's his tattoo. Does it mean anything? No, it doesn't mean anything. We're just going to focus on it for 5 minutes for no reason, other than to identify you're from a certain planet, and so you get this sort of. I've never saw what's the movie with like, where the guy falls in love with the computer, and the computer's played by the girl who plays Scarlett Johansson. Yes, her. Yeah, like I've never seen that, but I assume that's the plot of what just happened. Well, like, I mean, but like you were saying, Jessica.
Yeah, it is. It is the Odyssey.
Yeah.
Part of the Odyssey. I assume we'll get the rest of it in the next
That's right.
Star Trek.
They're
short.
trying. If this is going to be a 10-year-long series, apparently. But and then it's just the more kept on going because I was like, what's the point? So this is a love story between a man and a computer. I'm like, I'm not interested in that.
In 15 minutes.
Why would I want to? I mean, and I guess because then what issues? I mean, if that is the love story of a person and a computer, but then that brings up so many other issues. But they don't explore that. They don't explore like, computer or AI versus what's a person. It's just like, oh, sorry, because then the AI acts like a real person of like, no, we totally didn't kiss, it didn't count, nothing was happening, no, we're still cool, and then bye, and then that's the show, and I'm like, what the hell did I just watch?
Sometimes love is confusing, Philip. It's not always clear cut. It's okay for the story to be ambiguous. Especially when you only
I'm
have
just
15
sad
minutes.
that we don't get that actor for a main crewman
Hardison.
because
Yes.
Come on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree with that. Yeah.
it's like I kind of feel like he's wasted in this short trek.
I mean, how many
But-
Star Trek references has he made in that as that character alone?
I mean,
Well,
Will
but that wasn't
Wheaton
his
has been
call,
in the
that
show.
was-
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Although, again, if they're making some sort of Odyssey connection, he does have, another 9 years or so. So, as you say, he could end up in 1,000 years in the past and back on the Discovery.
Yeah, but they're not
Every
gonna,
year, enough for a short trek.
I
Yeah.
don't
Year
think
two.
they would do that though, just because that falls into you wouldn't really get this episode of Discovery if you didn't watch the short trek. You know what I
Mm.
mean? Like,
But also, I don't see the purpose of this episode. I mean, in other words, to make it Star Trek Discovery. I mean, it's just.
I don't
like,
think Star
it's
Treks have purposes, really.
Well, I mean, to show characters. Like, we're going to learn more about Saru theoretically in the next one.
That's true.
And then Tilly, you get quote unquote character development for Tilly. Like, oh, now.
But maybe we will see him again. Why would you put this whole episode about this character that we literally would never see?
I don't know. Because it's, and
I wouldn't be sad because I do want to see more.
I would
of
love
this
to see him, but it does seem like it's set on the Discovery, therefore it's Discovery. I'm like, but for that, there's nothing to do with, other than we're hinting about the ship's final fate. So, but also like again with the public domain movie, which is very white. And I was a little nervous when it's like, show me a picture of you, and which was a little creepy. Like, oh, I bet you've imagined your own, and like that's creepy. And I'm like, oh God, please don't be white. And I was like, oh, okay. They did make her a I believe she was a woman of color, and so yeah, it just seemed a little. And again, not that a love story is fine, and I know Discovery's done a lot of groundbreaking. I couldn't help think super heteronormative. Not that there's anything wrong with a man and woman relation, but it just seemed like like a very throwback story is what I'm trying to say.
It
like
sounds
it's not
like you have a
21st...
big problem with the AI aspect of this, Philip.
Well, it's like showing this old movie with old movie tropes, and then basing this futuristic story on a 20th century romance or movie. You know what I'm saying? There's nothing
based on an ancient Greek.
Yeah, it's not very modern. There's nothing very modern about it.
Except
Look,
the robot
he gets
part.
a disco shirt. He should just be happy with that.
He does get a disco shirt.
Also, and I know you liked it the first time they did it in Discovery, Darren. Was it the second or third or fourth episode where they show the storm and it turns out to be the replicator making Michael's clothes?
Oh,
like they really focus on the replicator during the short trek, like 3 or 4 times. Like, hey, she made him a shirt. I'm like, was as fascinating the second and third times as it was the first. But it's so weird the way they show the replicator. It's like they're almost showing like a half top. Like that's how it looks like. I'm like, it doesn't look like it's a full shirt every time they replicate it. And then why did he need a special spacesuit for his shuttle? It's like, oh look,
in case anything went wrong.
But like, it's the 32nd century. Like,
but she
we go out in our pajamas in the shuttle.
She mentioned that it was a long and tough journey to get to his home, and that's probably why.
Yeah, Voyager wore the same uniform for
He's not on a starship anymore. He's on
a shuttle.
Yeah.
Shuttles are just small starships, Daniel.
That's so I've heard.
So, cool. All right. Well, that's any other final thoughts on Calypso?
No, I quite liked it as a standalone. I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that it had absolutely nothing to do with Star Trek Discovery. But it's always nice to see the old stories return. And
yeah, you're a Greek.
Yes,
lover.
yeah, I am a Greekophile.
Yeah,
I don't know what Greciaphile. I don't know, but yeah.
On that point, I
you
just
believe in the
say,
Grecian formula of
yes.
theater.
I would love if they expanded short treks and it wasn't just Discovery based. Like if they did tiny corners of other Star Trek.
That would be awesome.
Like for season 2 of short treks, they did like an episode from Kirk's time. Well, I guess this is kind of Kirk's time, or from Archer's time, or a short trek of Zephram Cochrane as a kid, or something like that. It's just.
You could have a Cyrano Jones short trek.
There you go. I don't know why you'd want it. Why? But
he's just basically a nicer Mud.
Kinda, yeah. We're doing Tribble one. Why not?
Well, that's Cyrano Jones.
Yes. More
the
tribbles.
Great Tribble War. We finally get to see it in a short track.
Oh, how much fun.
Cool. All right. Well, I will let you go, Jessica.
All right. Thanks, guys, for having me.
Bye.
No problem.
Boink.
Boink.
Poof.
Mwah.
We'll edit in the poof later.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. All right, guys. Well, let's go on to our main topic, which I don't know how long it'll go because it is kind of an involved one, so we'll go as short as long as we want to go. But I was thinking of sort of turns not taken, the whole choose your pain, right? But in the Star Trek franchise.
Stop bringing up Star Trek 5.
I want to nerve pinch that horse. But anyway, of the sort of the story of the franchise, because I was watching a video about sort of the Star Trek franchise in the future and recent decisions and everything else, but it made me think if things had turned different. And so I'm going to just sort of pick random points throughout the 50 plus years of the Star Trek franchise and just try to imagine if we had turned left and sort of turned right. And this is no sort of critique of any shows or movies. It's just saying, well, what if something else happened, and what do we think that would have looked like? So just as an example, so we had the original series and the animated series, and then in the 70s, we know that there were rumblings about, well, it's making some money, the conventions, maybe there's some more money to milk out of this property that Paramount was thinking. And then we got theoretically, it was going to be a new Star Trek, what was it called? Star Trek 2. I think it was called Star Trek 2. It was going to be the TV show, but whatever
Phase
it was going to
2.
be called. Phase 2, excuse me. So Phase 2, Star Trek, which ultimately morphed into Star Trek the Motion Picture. So, for a moment, let's imagine they stuck with the original idea. And instead of going with the motion picture and what that spawned, if they'd stuck with Star Trek Phase 2, can you guys imagine just what that would have been like, and how do you think that would have changed things?
Gosh, well, because that would have been in 79, right? So
Yes.
I mean,
And who knows, with production, maybe with 80, 79, but whatever you want to say.
because now are we sticking with what Phase 2 was meant to be? Because
Wasn't
it like just Spock and then everything else changed, or was it a whole new crew?
No, everything was
No,
the
Spock
same
was-
except Spock.
Spock was gone.
Oh,
We had
okay, I couldn't remember.
Well, they were going to add that Decker and Ilea characters.
Oh, okay,
So, and then Zahn would be
Zahn,
the token Vulcan.
yeah. Yeah. Let's. Gosh.
I'm trying to remember what TV shows, like what it would have looked like or even been like as a TV show in the 70s.
Like Space 1999.
Battlestar Galactica? No, that's a little later.
Galactica,
That's like mid-80s, isn't it? But anyway.
So, I think, but I mean, just think of the motion picture, though. I mean, the look of that would have been. I mean, I think their costumes, at least, would have been very similar to the motion picture.
Blech.
We all know how we love that. Well, if we're changing things, can we just go straight to the Monster Maroon? Because that's what everybody loves.
Well, no, I mean, it would have had that sort of. I mean, everything. I guess it kind of looks that sci-fi look,
like that's
2001.
Yeah,
I mean, it's almost early JJ, really. I mean, JJ's better. I'm not trying to, but you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like
colors match a lot with like Space 1999. They all have that same kind of like off-white and beige, and everything's just really muted.
That super ugly late 70s, early 80s retro futuristic vibe. Is
everything's
terrible.
white or beige, and then they
like
have blinky
burnt
lights
red
everywhere
and burnt yellow. Like everything's just yeah.
And
Yeah. So, but design aside, do we think it would have been successful as far as the original series went 3 years? Do we imagine it being a 5-year mission, or 2 years going like, never mind, this is really expensive?
It's tough to say, but I think the bigger problem is, we're learning now that it's difficult for Star Trek to outgrow the original series. Imagine if they had that.
If the original series we got a double dose
of it, and it went into the presumably close to Next Generation's lifetime. It was good that it was forced out of TV into the movies, which left the franchise the breathing room to make the Next Generation, which kind of forced it to evolve into something different. I don't know that it would have, even if it was. So if it was canceled fairly early on, they probably wouldn't have revived it very soon. And if it was successful, they also wouldn't have had a need to sort of evolve in any way. So I feel like Star Trek, the motion picture and the movies not being on television was one of the best things for Star Trek overall.
Yeah, I guess theoretically, like you said, regardless, there would have been no movie franchise, or it would have been much later.
Right.
So, assume it's not successful. Well, then we're not going to make a movie about something that's not successful. Or it stays on the air for 2, 3, 4 years. I mean, I don't know how long things went back in the 70s. I don't know what the longest TV show in the 70s went for. But even then, so it's 1985, and they decide to shut it down. I mean, they're not going to do a movie in 86, It's not going to be till like 91. They're going to be like, you know what? We're bringing Star Trek back to the big picture.
Yeah, so because there's that big now. So you're saying we also were leaving the animated series intact because otherwise that's a bit of a gap from 60.
No, yeah, we'll leave it there.
But okay, so yeah, you have the motion picture. Let's say you at least went through 85. For 5-6 years.
Because 4 was 87, just because I know that was the same time as Next Gen.
That's right. Yeah. It was like right before. I think it was like early in that same year.
They were previewing TNG on the VHS of Star Trek 4.
But yeah, I think what they would do if they'd have a reason for the next generation, or if it wouldn't be as drastic of a time change. I mean, it being set so far after the original series time. Maybe they kept things more linear, and maybe you only jumped 50 years into the future instead of like 80.
Or you could have even done. They might have even been tempted to do something like a passing the torch, like a literal passing the torch. Like here's
the Sons of Trek.
Here's the next crew of the Enterprise. Like they're just all retiring, and then these people are taking the same sets and the same uniforms and that sort of stuff. I'm sure they would have done something like that because it's way cheaper to do that.
I mean, it would have been interesting if they did Star Trek Phase 2. Imagine, I'm not picking on them, but imagine it's the second year of Star Trek Phase 2, and Shatner's like, you know what, I want to do other stuff. I'm going to start, would they have done like a phasing out of the cast? So like it's still Phase 2, and maybe Phase 2 lasts like 7 years, but just has like roving cast, sort of like, well, latter Phase 2, it really divides the fans. Did you like, Captain Zahn, or did you like the Captain Kirk era? As far as the sort of like two different cast almost, because people would be phasing out and they'd have new characters and all that.
It'd be like Doctor Who, every now and again you get a major character replaced, but then all the companion characters kind of come and go as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a bad idea.
I'm trying to think, and I'm sure this is an easy answer. Is there a series that? Well, I know in the like now. Don't pick now, because now we remake everything. But like 5 to 10 years ago, is there any series that was on, left the air, and then came back on with the original cast intact? Like I said, nowadays we do it with Murphy Brown and everything else, and
Will Grace. You have something like Frasier, where you continue.
That's a spinoff,
character. Though. No, it is, but I mean, you have threads connecting it.
Yeah, but it's not like they brought Ted Danson and the bar back.
True.
They moved them across the country, actually.
But I mean, it's just an interesting enterprise, ha ha ha. But like, it's kind of daring to be like, we're doing the same thing but different. Like, I don't know. Like, it would have been interesting. Yeah.
I was just gonna say, Star Trek just would be different. It wouldn't. 90% of what we know as Star Trek, which is late 80s, early 90s Trek, would not exist as it does today.
Is it like Battlestar Galactica versus Battlestar Galactica in 1982 or whatever it was called?
Oh, yeah. Or even you had like Mission Impossible 1984 or something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's just, I think, like you said, the best things about Star Trek is that there was time for a gap, and then they changed it up enough to make it different.
So there was Saved by the Bell and Saved by the Bell: The College Years, which had mostly the same cast. So
yeah, that was.
And there was
mostly
MASH and After MASH.
That's true. It would have been interesting, like I said, if they
literally called it After MASH. Like they couldn't think of a better name besides this is After MASH.
Well, Phase 2 isn't exactly the most interesting.
Good point. That's
right. Are we naming this after the project file folder? Anyway.
Everyone
Star Trek,
final,
done, final, use this one.
Yeah.
Star Trek: The Motion Picture, Star Trek: The Next Generation. Yeah, I'm going to say we've not been the most creative series in terms of actual names of things.
Correct.
True. Yeah, Star Trek the movie is basically just a little glossed up. A little.
Enterprise. No. Star Trek Enterprise.
What's our new ship called? I don't know. Enterprise A? Oh, okay.
Brilliant, Johnson. Do it.
Give that man a raise.
But yeah,
give that man a raise and extend the cloud scene by 10 minutes. Every time something good happens.
because I'm imagining whether it would have hurt the franchise. I mean, without the movie franchise, whether they're good or bad movies, it keeps them going, because as long as the last movie made money, they'll make a new one. Whereas, if Phase 2, either if it's successful or not successful, either way, I think it would have killed it off for several years,
Yeah, like you would have to take a break, and that's what I'm saying is part of the reason I think Star Trek continued to work, especially with the next gen, is because there was that break, and it came back, but it changed dramatically.
And it would be a network show, of course, which I think would be, Sci-Fi Network. Again, I'm not a TV history person. I imagine Sci-Fi Network does not work in the 70s or 80s.
No, there just wasn't. I don't think there was a
which
way
is the problem the first time.
to broadcast, enough to have something like that that's super specific.
And it was a series of circumstances. What with them obviously continuing the story of the original series cast with the movies, like you say, with how television was produced in the late 80s, and there's just a series of coincidences and good fortunes and luck and everything that we got Star Trek how we did. If you change something that fundamental to the history of Star Trek that early on, you're going to see a much different franchise now. Like who even, there's no way to know, but it could just have been dead since Phase 2 was canceled, and they would have never brought it back, and that could have been the end of it.
Or like, we see what you did, we did what you wanted, fans. Now shut up.
Maybe we need to move forward from this kind of unknown time to, like, in your initial postulate, you were talking about some changes maybe made to like next gen, and that might be a better starting off point.
I was also thinking of like, if it would be, what issues would Phase 2 be like? Like, in other words, TOS is obviously the 60s, a lot going on. 80s is a little different. I mean, what? I mean, there's things that were going on that certainly weren't talked about. I mean, AIDS wouldn't hit for a couple more years, but like, I'm trying to think of sort of what would have been the societal issues of the late 70s, early 80s. I mean, it's not like, there's not a Vietnam War. There's not. I mean, there's still racism, of course, and things like that. But it would have been interesting what the issues would have been tackled for a 79-80 series. So
That's
anyway.
true. That's true.
Maybe the Ferengi would have been introduced in Phase 2. Greed is good.
Could be.
We would have found out what God needed with a starship a little earlier, maybe.
Exactly. Yeah, and it would have been interesting how they would have explained the redesign. Like, Darren, do you know a lot about the Phase? I feel like maybe you know more than we do.
Yeah, I was
like,
looking
do they explain
up a
like
little bit.
why does the Enterprise look different? It's just like,
Yeah, I think it's just progression of technology and stuff. I was just reading up on it a little bit, and it basically, I think at its core, I mean, we all know the motion picture is basically Phase 2 wrapped up into a movie. Like the main concepts are all there, and I think they just ultimately decided this is just better as a film than as a television show. But it would have been, because I think we're targeting around like mid 70s, but then by like 77, it was just not working.
Yeah, I really feel like that show would have been dated in the look. I mean, because to me, it's TOS. Well, I'll move on here, but TOS, as much as the go-go boots and mini skirts and midriffs, but I'm like, there is a certain timeless element to the TOS look. But I feel like Phase 2 would have looked really 70s. But anyway, so, and I don't know if we should do TNG or not. So I'll give you guys the option. So imagine it's 80. So we're back to our prime universe. So it's franchise movies. We're gonna do, we're gonna capture lightning in a bottle again. TNG. Is there another choice besides what they did? I mean, other than characters and story. I mean, and can you think of some, parallel option that would have been chosen other than the Next Generation that we got?
I mean, maybe a Starfleet Academy thing. Maybe like, imagine if you did a Starfleet Academy and you had an Admiral Kirk. So it's still not set.
So it's saved by the college years.
Yeah, Mr. Or Boy Meets World, Mr. Kirk keeps following the kids throughout their entire
Oh man,
college
that'd be
career.
great.
Oh, I'm an admiral now. Oh, now I'm working at this space station you're at. Oh, now I'm on this long-range duration mission. You
Oh,
can't
man.
get rid of that guy. I like how you got that reference, Daniel.
Oh, I love. Oh man, it's one of my favorite television shows of all time.
But
I don't
anyway,
think they discussed anything else besides what they did, right? I mean, there was no option B. It was just like next. It wasn't like we're gonna bring back Kirk and Company. It was like,
well,
no,
you
we're
also
doing
have to
something new.
remember, like you were saying with Phase 2, the big thing with Phase 2 is they were trying to launch UPN,
Oh, that's true. That's true. You're right.
and it didn't work. Like they figured out that the revenue projections just weren't going to make it happen. So rather than try it and then it gets canceled and the network fails, they just didn't try at that time. And it wasn't until Voyager in the 90s where they finally succeeded in making the fourth big television network.
Did they succeed? No, really.
It existed. For a time.
For a good while.
I
So
still
did the
remember
XFL.
that. I still remember that circle, square, triangle
Yep.
logo. Gosh,
And then
so
you
90s.
turn to the WB and there'd be a singing frog. Yeah, it was all good times. But I guess an option to just sort of think about for a second, and we'll move on, is, again, it was syndicated, TNG obviously, and that would set the tradition. But again, it was a big, bold risk. What if a network had said yes? What if Star Trek Next Generation was a network show?
And it shifted Star Trek to network. So like,
We'll stay it on the network, Yeah.
oh, I see what you're saying.
It almost certainly would have been canceled after its first season. Like almost 100% would have been canceled.
Chaos on the Bridge.
Yeah, I think that's really the case. It was the syndication numbers that let it get that second chance, and really didn't even kick in 100% obviously after that. But
The syndication of the original series, after the fact was really
that's true. You're right.
what created the connection. And so Next Gen just benefited from syndication while it was in production.
Yeah,
That's true. So, yeah, so I think that the next sort of biggest nexus, if you will, to use a phrase, is Deep Space Nine. So,
I think with Next Gen, if they had just aired it on their website at the same time, they might have. Wait, I mean, I know that would have taken like a couple of hours to download, but and
Couple of hours,
and it's
that's
320
neener.
320 pixels
Get off the phone,
by
Mom.
240, but geez. Yeah, no.
watch it on QuickTime.
Oh, jeez. Remember apple.com/trailers?
Oh yeah.
Yes.
Oh yeah.
Oh man, it's taking me back.
Small, medium, or large.
Right.
And then the HD option blew your
AKA,
mind.
do you want to watch it now, later, or even later? Oh, jeez.
Yeah. But for DS9, and you guys can pick all the other options. So, I mean, and again, I'm trying to think of when there was sort of like another path, and I don't know enough about the history of Deep Space Nine. So whether it would have been, do you do another Starship show? Do you wait to do something else? Or, what do you think the sort of, in the choose your own adventure, what is the option B or C instead of the Deep Space Nine we got?
I mean, there's kind of, I see it as there's two differences they could have done. They could have made it a Federation starbase. That would have changed the show, I think, dramatically. I'm not saying for the better. I'm just saying it would have been a different.
Yeah, again, we're doing neutral about better or worse. We're just saying different.
And they also could have not had an overlap. They could have literally had it like, we're going to just have one Star Trek show on at a time, and Next Gen's going to end on this date, and then Deep Space Nine is going to start. Now, I mean, there's reasons to not do that because you help switch your audience over, but yeah, it's, I don't know, because it,
The thing about Deep Space Nine is that it's in almost every respect, it's a direct answer to TNG. It's basically, let's do this differently.
right.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a Star Trek show.
DS9 was if they started Next Gen, but not as a copy of the original series format.
Yeah, they wanted to switch literally everything up, so they did. Star Trek's always been on a starship. Nope, this time it's on a space station. And that's not even a Federation space station.
It always has a captain. Nope, we're going to have a commander for some reason.
It always has a saucer and two nacelles. What the hell is this starship you're bringing me?
So, I mean, in that respect,
No religion. We're going to shove religion so far down your throat.
politics and religion everywhere.
You betrayed your uniform!
long form storytelling.
Yeah.
your character development, side character, like, but like really,
you can only have a cast of 7 people max. People can't even remember names after 7 people. We're gonna give you 85 characters and the revolving stories every week.
So I mean, literally every Deep Space Nine was constructed as kind of a, I don't want to say an anti-TNG, but like as a response to TNG, as a way to differentiate itself from the Next Generation. So yeah. You could do other things, but everything else you would do, I feel like, would be the safer option, would be the easier option, would be like, without
Voyager
would be Voyager.
Everything else, I'm not saying it in a negative way, but yeah, I mean, Voyager is the repeat formula of Next Gen. I mean, you have the big hook. I mean, that's the only thing they really had going. And again, I love Voyager. I'm not trying to say it in a negative way, but like,
but that's the thing. That was the choice given to them. When they said, "Hey, we want to do another Star Trek show," they said in their minds, I'm sure, and plenty of meetings, they said we can do a proto Voyager, whatever their idea was for that originally, or something crazy different like a proto Deep Space Nine. So even if they didn't do Deep Space Nine like they did Deep Space Nine, we would have just gotten another sort of ship.
That's true. That's more of the question is in a post-Next Gen DS9, where those are the two obvious options on the table. Once those have happened, what do you do as your third?
That's a more interesting question, I think. Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you do the Voyager, which is basically the same format but slightly twisted, or do you do a third option that's, I don't know,
Enterprise.
farther in time, or well, that's even more the original series.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you have space. I'm like, is there a third option besides Spaceship Show or Starbase Show?
Mm-hmm. Well, there's a short show apparently, or the animated comedy show. But anyway,
or the Picard Show,
or the side or show built on a mirror villain who's in the Prime universe. It's now Section 31. No, don't get me started. Okay. I wanted to back up just a little bit because this is something that almost happened. Imagine if Spock stayed dead at the end of Star Trek 2. Because that was Nimoy saying, "I'm out. I'm done." And then he's like, well, in case I change my mind.
You'd written, "I am not Spock."
Can you film the speech? Can you film this one small? So, I mean, imagine there's a Star Trek 3, but there's no Spock. I mean, do you think, how would that have gone?
The search for Spock, but we don't find him.
The fruitless search for Spock.
But Nimoy says, "I'm done. I'm out."
It's a lot more speculative because I don't think we've even ever gotten like any sort of ideas.
Spock became that through character. I mean, he's been in Next Gen and the 09 movies, so I don't think there's any other character that really rose to prominence like he did.
Yeah, I would say Spock is the central character of all of Star Trek, really, in a lot of ways more than Kirk would be or anything like that. So
he's the alien. He's different. I agree with you.
But Nimoy was, that's the whole reason he wanted to die. He was done with it, and he was just like, never mind.
Well, they gave him that sweet director's money, so
You let us bring back your character.
We'll let you direct. But I mean, so Star Trek 3 is just I don't even know what the story would be, but it doesn't have Spock in it. And do you think that sort of will slow down the movie franchise any, or?
I would say so. I would think so. You're not going to get Star Trek 4 without Spock. And Star Trek 4 was such a massive success. Star Trek 4 led to TNG. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could do it theoretically, potentially, but I don't know. What do you get, a new character? Are you going to reintroduce Zahn? Or is it going to be
maybe
like
Saavik takes over?
Saavik.
Yeah,
Saavik's son
could work.
Now, I don't know which one, but she regenerated. So
well, you're not paying Nimoy to direct anymore, so you can definitely afford Kirstie Alley. So.
What was her? What is the story with her? I don't think
it was money.
Oh, was it? I was like, it wasn't her choice, right? Or was it?
No, she was too. She was making real good money with Cheers at the time, and didn't give her enough.
Okay.
Well,
yeah, I don't know.
At least
it's
it
hard
gave
to
us
say.
evil Valeris and not Saavik turning bad.
I think it would have been a different scene at that point. But anyway. Okay, well,
let's try to think besides, DS9 or Voyager, Starship or Starbase, I mean, often we've said something like
And the Starfleet Academy, which is
an Academy show. You know, that's an option, which I still think could be valid if you did it right. Or maybe some other type of maybe a planet that's not it's not a starbase, but you have like a port or something still. It's just on a planet instead of in space. But
all right, so let's do
one of those ones where you had the map painting in the background, of all the towers and the.
So let's do what y'all were talking about. So you've had Next Generation, Deep Space Nine. Next Gen goes off the air. Deep Space Nine is doing its Deep Space Nine thing. All right, we want another series. What do we do? What is your alternative to Voyager concept?
You say, guys, we've had 2 great series. You want another one? I mean, come on, guys. Okay, alternate to Voyager.
I mean, you do whatever you want, of course, but
honestly, I would almost say Voyager, but with consequences. Like the concept,
which is my favorite game show in the 90s.
Like, to tell the truth, no, just like take the concept of Voyager, but fully go long form story, not episodic, and
so like a Battlestar Galactica,
where year to year crew die, year to year the ship gets beat up and has to change, and maybe it could. I know Voyager eventually got to all CGI, but if maybe it had done that from the get-go and they could have had the model,
now you're Babylon 5ing it
as they went. No, I'm just saying, because I know that was when they made the transition. Like in the beginning, it was a model, and by the end, it was mostly CG. I mean, besides the stock shots, but yeah, I think that would have been an even more dynamic show. Because again, I like the premise of Voyager, the whole stranded crew, the getting home. That's not. Or you could even start it out like an Equinox type story where you have 2 ships and one of them eventually doesn't make it. And I mean, think about the dynamic of that. You have 2 captains of equal rank.
2 captains?
Yeah, stranded in the Delta Quadrant, but they have different views on how to get home. But obviously, you're going to try to work together.
Well, theoretically, that would have been the Maquis and Voyager if they didn't combine.
But I would say with a separate second ship, it gives it even more options.
More characters.
Because Maquis didn't really have an option but to go along on Voyager. But I think so. Yeah, I guess that's kind of my answer. Is just a Voyager that went all in. That let the ship get damaged, that let crew members die, and just went from there. I think that would have been, or bring on more aliens. I mean, yes, I know we brought on Kes and Neelix and the Borg children and others, but I don't know. It just take it up a notch.
Mm-hmm. And then, unless you have anything, Daniel, I was going to say with Enterprise, I think the choice or the path not taken is, apparently from what I hear, UPN, is like, we're going to do a Star Trek show, Berman, you're either in or you're out. And it's got to be a prequel. And so that was the choice. What if he said no? What if it was not a Berman, all the writers and designers and Zimmerman and everyone else? What if someone else had taken Enterprise and done whatever they've done?
So, real quickly, just on what you guys were just talking about, because I was just thinking about it, and I kind of have a perfect solution. Not a perfect solution, because I can't make up a whole series in my head in 1 second, but what if instead of Voyager, we just got a Maquis show?
Oh.
And you
Led by Eddington?
A non-Starfleet show is what you're saying.
Yeah, a non-Starfleet show, but it could still be... And you could be... instead of like Deep Space Nine, where Deep Space Nine kind of felt like it cut that storyline off at the heels. They were just like, okay, we're done telling the Maquis stuff, so they're all killed, and that's it. Where you actually like build that conflict, and you actually get to see it from the ground people's perspective. And it could still even be like a ragtag sort of ship situation, but you're seeing the entire view of like the Federation and the Cardassians and all these people from a very different perspective. That would be something I think would be more interesting than what we got with Voyager.
Or what if we focused on like a planet that was almost to Federation membership? So we see like the last transition of them into like a more universal government, or I'm just trying to think of something that's not a war or conflict. I'm not saying that's bad. It's just, what if you had, the different factions?
There is that element of that in Deep Space Nine.
Oh, that's true. With
Bajor.
Yeah. Risa. Why is it Risa? Bajor is a big element, and
I know Bajor is your Risa, Daniel. So that's why.
No.
No, that's a good point. I'd forgotten that, but I was thinking in not in a Deep Space Nine way. Like literally, we're on the planet. We see the different groups and what they're trying to do. And I mean, I understand as I'm saying this more and more. It's yes, that was what DS9 had, but that would be the main focus, as opposed to like, I felt like that wasn't the main focus of DS9.
No. Well, that starts out as the premise, but it certainly doesn't. It is woven through that storyline, but it's not.
Yeah.
It's not even that prominent inside that story. It gets pushed to the back pretty quickly. But Philip, to answer your question, about Enterprise, I think, interestingly enough, that it was the network. Like, to me, when I first heard them talking about they were going to do a whole year, the first season of Enterprise was going to be entirely on Earth. They weren't going to go into. They weren't going to go into, like, that's kind of more what I want to see.
Right.
That's new and interesting. So I don't wish that they got pushed out. I just wish that they got what they were going for. I wish that they were able to do the show that they initially wanted to do.
Sure.
Instead of pushing Enterprise into, again, another version of this story.
TOS. Yeah. So you get your Earth to the Moon, or whatever you want to call it, first season of Enterprise.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I'm trying to think. So after that, I mean, what are the choices? And after that, the franchise is sort of, no, I won't say dead, but on life support until the JJ. So what were the choices when JJ? Was it, is it like another director takes over because JJ was just doing his Star Wars audition, or what were sort of the other steps that might have happened for 2009?
I think the big choice there is Prime Universe or not.
I'd say do DS9 movie.
That would be a hell of a thing to try to convince, that's just not possible. With the split between CBS and Paramount, there's just no way.
Oh, that's true. Dang it, split between PBS and Paramount.
I mean, that's not even the biggest hurdle. The biggest hurdle is the fact that they would never do it.
So if you did 2009 as an actual reboot, as in it's Star Trek that it's just different.
Yeah.
I mean, again, which is what what 2009 is. It's just alternate timeline to make it palatable for anyone who has problems.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, without the device, does it? I mean, without that device, so say they just say F it. No, it's Prime Universe. There is no alternate timeline. This is just what it is. Do you think that hurts anything?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I think a big reason that movie was successful, I mean, I think a lot of people really that are into Star Trek like that movie because it differentiates itself. And it gives, even though it's flimsy, but it's whatever. We have multiple universes in Star Trek, so it's no problem. If you can't capture the core Star Trek audience, and appeal to a wider audience, you have to do both at the same time as best as you can. And I think 09 does that very, very well.
Because I'm imagining like they would just have, you could still have Leonard Nimoy. He would just like go back in time instead of going to a, parallel universe. Yeah,
he could.
Yeah, and I don't know. I mean, because like if it's just being sold as, yay, remember Captain Kirk and the Enterprise? I want to see that as a movie. I wonder how much that would have been like. The general audience would have been like, yeah, that was a movie. Sure.
Yeah. I mean, I think one of the things I liked about 09 is the fact that it was like, we are going to be a different timeline. And, we're going to be like, okay, here's your timeline. And we're going to set it to the side so that we can tell a new story. Like, and we blow up Vulcan. It's like, I think that worked because, well, the only ones who would care are Star Trek fans, and Star Trek fans could understand the whole principle of a parallel universe.
Right. No consequences. Do whatever we want.
Yeah, but that's
Well,
cool
not
because
so much the consequences, more the fact that that's the big inherent flaw and difficulty in prequels is that like Obi-Wan and Anakin are fighting the bad guys. I sure hope they don't die. It's like, no, there's no tension because characters are going to live. Whereas if you do it in an alternate universe, like, you can blow up planets and do things like that.
Right. So I'm thinking this will be our last one. I don't know. And again, we're not into this is the trash Star Trek Discovery podcast by any means. But just imagining, I think that was obviously the next focal point, right? Because Into Darkness was going to happen, Beyond was going to happen. But Discovery, as I'm led to believe, and it seems like you read something different every day. Imagine Brian Fuller isn't fired. Basically, is the is the alternative. And I don't know how much the anthology thing. How much that was real, or just like as an idea, but I don't know. What do you guys think could have been a Brian Fuller season 1 Discovery? Obviously, he said a lot, already, but.
Well, I mean, I think even before that,
mm-hmm.
the decision to make Discovery a prequel was the biggest mistake. I think when you have the opportunity to do the next generation, and yet we're still falling back on all this older stuff, I think that's the timeline I want to see when we jump forward in time. And you can still bring back some of these characters if you want. Yeah. But I think a lot.
It's
a
like,
lot of Star
look,
Trek fans,
here we're in a prequel, and look, it has to be all about the Klingons, and we're like, can we not move past Klingons and a ship?
I just always hear that Simpsons clip in my head of like, again with the Klingons.
So I think that's the biggest problem. I don't know. I don't know what a season 1 entirely developed by Brian Fuller would look like, but I still think it has those real big problems that Discovery hasn't really addressed yet about being a prequel.
Wait, you don't think Calypso solved it?
No, I have not. No.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, any other random times that I'm not thinking of, you guys that think that where the franchise could have gone left instead of right, or right instead of left, or?
I think there's one glaring omission, Philip.
Mm-hmm.
And what if instead of Star Trek the Interactive VCR board game,
right,
we got Star Trek the Interactive DVD board game?
Ooh. With not Galron.
I think the choice was to go Betamax instead of VHS, but I think they made the right choice in the end.
I think it would have been cool. I was just looking at the timeline again, and the movies were coming out pretty frequently, but there was a bit of a gap between Insurrection and Nemesis, and it actually right in the middle of that gap is End of Voyager. And I think it still would have been great to have wrapped up Voyager with like a movie. And you get, that would have been awesome. You could have spent money to up the lighting on the sets and whatnot, and just tell like a dramatic, 90-minute movie or something. I think that would have been.
Just
fun.
said they were near a sun, and that's why it's so bright.
Oh, geez, yeah. It's not a sun. It's a what was it? Hub. Trans warp hub.
Yeah, there you
something like that.
Cool. All right. Well, that's been our journey through alternative franchise time. Darren, if folks want to talk to you about all the 85,000 characters in Deep Space Nine, where can they reach you?
There's just so many, guys. It's just great. But they can find me on Twitter, Instagram under username Dr. Sci-Fi, DRSCIFI.
And Daniel, if folks want to talk to you about the short trek you're writing based on the Roman theater, where can they find you? Actually, Romans just stole the Greek theater, so that's a bad analogy. But anyway,
they can find me on Twitter at @OneUpDan. That's the number 1, not the word.
And if folks want to talk to me about more opportunities to have my co-host that lives with me on here, they can find me at NC Public Servant on Twitter. All right. Well, what are we talking about next week, Daniel? No, I think it's actually Darren, right?
Yep.
What are we talking about next week, Darren?
We are going to be comparing the first seasons of all of Star Trek. Overall
okay.
flow, what the highs and lows were, new characters. Not so kind of trying to move the conversation past the pilots, because we've talked about pilots before, but
Paris is the best.
how did those first seasons go, since everybody's got a first season at this point? So we have a lot to talk about.
Yeah, sounds good. Well, until next week, I'm Philip Gilfus.
I'm Daniel Frew.
I'm Darren Moser.
Stranded here on City Alpha 3.
Come!